Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of One Deck One Month featuring Rikka. Here we are in week 3. It is currently Tuesday, quarter after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we haven't gone to Tuesday locals since week 1, where we went X2. We didn't go last week, and we are going again today. This is what my deck list looks like. I talked about this briefly at the end of the last episode, where I pretty much told you guys what the hand trap lineup was going to be, as I'm continuing to play a hand trap heavy build of this deck, and I'm probably going to continue to test that out through the rest of the series and see how I like it compared to the previous version we played in week 1, with the Dark Rulers and the rivalries and stuff in the main deck. Today's going to be my first time, I think, maining 3 Nibiru in this deck, and we'll just see how good of a call it is. Now, to be fair, we have a lot smaller crowd on Tuesday, so this might not be the best form of testing, but we're still getting some reps in with the deck, and hopefully we do get some decent information out of it. Like I said, again, smaller crowd today. There might be a lot more rogue, a lot more control stuff, where instead of maybe 3 Nibiru in the main, we're going to wish that at some point we maybe had the 3 Cosmic in the main, right? I'm going to try the deck out, and if I can get any testing on DB this week with this hand trap lineup, I'll be sure to try to do that and try to go over the results of said testing, see what I like, see what I didn't like, things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually get the deck list completely built right now. I don't think the hand trap lineup is what it needs to be in the deck. In the side deck, the side deck I think is pretty much the same. It's just 3 Cosmic, 3 Dark Ruler, 3 Evenly, 3 Judgment, and 3 Rivalry. That's not changing. The extra deck is not changing. It's just some tweaks in the main deck. So that's all I wanted to update you guys on. We're going to go play. I'm probably not going to record, though. I'll just try to take some notes because it is a lot easier for me to not bring all the recording gear today. That also helps to make the episode a little bit shorter. Instead of having 2 full-length match reviews, having just 1 and maybe touching on some other games here and there. So that's going to be the move for today, and I'll update you guys probably tomorrow, since later tonight I don't think I'll have time to film an update, and we'll see where we take it from there going into Saturday. Like, I really like the Nibiru in the main. Like, I thought, like, I wasn't going to like it, but the thought of, like, making Princess or Strenna and then, like, Nibiruing your own Strenna and turning it into another interruption while they lose their whole field and you still get something out of it, that seems really good. I really like that idea quite a bit. I was thinking about cutting the carrot weight and playing just the 1 Primula, but like, carrot weight is such a really good card. Having another level 4 for Glamour Search targets, having 1-for-1 in the main deck, and I really wanted to try to go down to 40. Like, I wanted to maybe play the 3rd Seed at 42 instead of playing 1-for-1, because like, I'm not like a huge fan of 1-for-1, but I think it's like a good card and warrants probably being in the main deck somewhere. But the math is there. Playing 7 normal summons at 42, you have a 18, I think, 0.7% chance of seeing 2 or more in the opening hand, which is pretty low, honestly. But when you go down to 6 at 42, it goes all the way down to like 14.1% chance of seeing 2 or more. And that's a pretty substantial, like, mathematically substantial amount of, probability to lose of us seeing 2 or more. And, like, those that play this deck, you guys know that probably one of the weaker points of this deck is seeing too many normal summons, like seeing double Seed in your hand, or Petal Seed, or Lone Fire Petal, right? Yes, there are some ways you can facilitate to get both of these normal summons onto the board with things like Snowdrop, but oftentimes they're, like, not super safe lines. They'll play into more hand traps, things like Nibiru, etc., etc., and it doesn't really help playing into boards either, seeing multiple normal summons when you'd rather see just other extenders, engine cards, etc. I wish, like, that 1-for-1 could be a second sewing, but at the same time, the starter counts, like, we need to draw a starter. Like, we can't afford to not draw a starter. I don't want what happened the 4th round of week 2 to happen again. I don't want that to happen anymore. I want to draw a starter. I want to draw a starter. I don't want to open a hand of all non-engine. Although, be it statistically low, I just wanted to reduce that chance as much as possible. So, I got the binder here. I got to pull out some hand traps. I'm going to build the deck, and we're going to get ready to go. Welcome to Saturday, everybody. It is currently just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I wanted to go ahead and film a little update segment for you guys, talking about a few things. One being, how did our Tuesday tournament go? And the other thing being, what does our deck list look like? What changes have I made since Tuesday? And sort of what's the game plan for tonight? Our actual last week before Darkwing Blast is officially legal, and we'll also talk about that either in this segment or a little bit later on in the episode. So first things first, how did our Tuesday tournament go? Obviously, you guys know I didn't record that event, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. We've been having very small turnouts at our Tuesday locals the past several weeks, so I'm kind of glad I didn't record. We're playing less rounds, less people are showing up. It's not that great testing, and I think it's just kind of better to skip over and not go about bringing a bunch of gear to a smaller tournament like that. Like, I'm talking like 8 players. This time around we had 13. We're only able to do 3 rounds of Swiss, and I ended up going 2-1. Round 1 I played against Tierlament. Kind of a pretty standard match. Nothing really stood out there. I mean, Rivalry kind of did what Rivalry does best on normal summon Rhinoheart attempt to fusion. That did steal us a game. Nibiru also came insanely clutch as well in that matchup, so kind of glad that was in our main deck as well. And also, the person I ended up playing against, I have not played against that person in like years, like maybe like 6 years plus. So that was a blast from the past. Really cool to see them back playing again. We've had a couple people, show up to locals recently, especially last week, that I haven't seen at a tournament, and again, probably like 6+ years. So always cool to see people returning, familiar faces coming back to play after a long hiatus. Round 2, we played against another Tierlament deck. The same tier player, I think, that we played in week 1, round 4, I believe. Our good friend Chubbs. And he kind of got the better of us this time around because I think it was game 1 or game 2. I can't remember which game it was specifically, but there was an interaction where I had a Mudon on field, I had Con up, and I had like Dryas, Thrasher, Twin, and Lokai. So I was like setting up to do the full seed line. I had Princess engraved too. And my opponent used a Havness. I let it resolve. He hit a Shaddoll Dragon off of it and nothing else. And I decided it would be a good idea to negate the Shaddoll Dragon with Princess, protecting my field spell. And you know what he did immediately on resolution? He slapped a rock right down onto the field, and it pretty much proceeded to end my turn, since I think I started with normal summon Lokai. So yeah, word of advice, don't negate a Shaddoll Dragon with Princess, especially if your opponent has one suspicious card left in hand, and it may or may not be Nibiru, and if Nibiru is going to completely end your turn and your life and your existence and your career, don't negate the Shaddoll Dragon. So that was definitely me getting a little bit greedy, and I've definitely learned my lesson. And I think it was either game 2 or 3, obviously I ended up losing the match. Can't remember exactly how, it's been a couple days. I kind of wish I would have taken some detailed notes, but ended up losing that match regardless. And next we played against MathMech, another player I've never played against before. We ended up winning game 1 relatively easy. I think I got to win the die roll. It was my first die roll I think that I won that night. We were like, 1 for 3 on die rolls. And went first, did our full combo, couldn't crack the board. And then game 2, he went first and was able to set up like the decent like MathMech field, and I couldn't break it. And I'm pretty sure I went to a game 3 situation where I had a Nibiru for his end board, and that game grinded out like quite a bit. He ended up Mystic Mining me, and we kept passing back for like, I want to say like 10 turns back and forth. And one little piece of advice I would suggest to anybody that plays this deck when you're undermined, don't forget you can still use Con, right? It's not a monster effect. You can just keep getting glamours and sheets out of your deck, right, to deck then. You can glamour away something to search a Petal and a Lokai, and you can deck then so many cards, and that's exactly what I was doing until eventually several turns later I found the one of Cosmic Cyclone in my deck, hit the mine, tried to apply a little bit of pressure, make him burn through some of his interruptions, and I was kind of strapped too. I had Ash, Crow, Nibiru in hand, Judgment set. Like, I had a ton of resistance, so I didn't want to like invest everything because I knew like his engine doesn't do that much. It all kind of boils down to an access code really at the end of the day. So I was like, I'll just kind of poke and prod a little bit. I'm not going to do too much. And then next turn he mined me again, and without me even thinking for a second, I let the mine resolve even though I had a set Judgment. I can't believe that I still did that. If I would have judgmented that Mystic Mine, I think we would just win the game just right out on the spot. He did have Super Factorial and Called By set. He would have gone Super Factorial. I would have done something to the extent of Call By Diameter. He chains Call By. I chain Call By Targeting Diameter, making it so he can't bring out the Laplacian with a negate on it. And I still have Princess and Strenna and all this good stuff set up. And I think we just definitely win the game from there. So that was a huge misplay on my behalf. But luckily, I was able to normal summon a Princess, link into a Bengal Lancer. His monster returned back to his field because of Sheet. The mine destroyed itself again, so that's 2 mines outed. And I was just able to basically stop all of his plays next turns with hand traps. And he just admitted defeat without going any further, because I think time was actually very close to being called, and I was up 7,000 to his 25, I think. So we were in a winning position there. So that's how our Tuesday locals went. A little dicey, misplayed a little bit, got a little greedy in that round 2 tier matchup, and just let a Mystic Mine slide in that round 3 matchup. Definitely not letting that happen again. So our deck list. What does our deck list look like? I think I already showed you guys what my deck list looked like going into that tournament. So this is what the changes that I've made, basically. I ended up dropping the 1-for-1. I know I'm so wishy-washy on this 1-for-1. And I ended up dropping an Effect Veiler, because I wanted to get down to a clean-cut 40 cards. I haven't played this deck at 40 cards in, like, a lot, like, ever since I started picking up the deck, honestly, back when I was playing, like, Prosperity and things like that. So we're back to 40 cards. I wanted to drop the 1-for-1, mainly because, like, I still wanted to play 13 hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 Nibiru, 3 Crow, 3 Imperm, and 1 Bell. I still want to be at that 13 hand trap mark, because I think it gives us, like, around a 53% chance of seeing 2 or more in the opening hand. So, right, 50% of the time you're going second, 50% of the time you're going first. Shoutouts to C Goody for that little math knowledge, right? Always try to get to 13 hand traps, especially in a format where seeing 1 hand trap is just definitely not going to be enough. And I think with, Con being a board breaker like it is, Called By being a decent card going second, and Harpy's Feather Duster also being a decent going second card, I think we're kind of well equipped to go second, especially at 40 cards. And I didn't want to play the second Sowing, even though I really do like the second Sowing. Something about me doesn't like the fact of playing 2 Sowing with 2 Seed. I just feel like there are going to be some circumstances where we can't resolve it because, like, both of the seeds are out of the deck. Whereas if we were playing 3 seeds, it might be a little bit more viable. And everything else, all the other ratios, I think I like quite a bit. The side deck is something that I'm still a little wishy-washy on right now. Like, I'm dead set on the Judgments and the Rivalries, the Cosmics and the Evenlies. It's the Dark Ruler No Mores that I'm just unsure about. Like, if Sprite decks aren't going for Toad boards anymore and they're playing Adventurer cards, like, I guess Dark Ruler still goes in against those. And outside of that, like, Dark Ruler's always been kind of mid against Tier Limit, if I'm being quite honest. I think Evenly just kind of overperforms against the tier deck. So we'll see how much I'm siding in Dark Ruler tonight. That's going to be something I'm kind of keeping tabs on. And also the siding patterns, I think, is another thing. If I'm going first, I think I'm taking out the Imperms for Judgments just to be more higher impact, right? And depending on the matchup, if I'm going first, the Nibirus will be coming out for the Rivalries. So those 6 cards come in, those 6 cards go out. I don't want there to be conflictions where I have Rivalry and Nibiru, and I have to kind of choose between which one I want to use, which one I don't want to use, etc., etc. And I think for going second, obviously depending on the deck, I think we can take out, like, Imperms or Duster, Bell, or Crow for 3 Dark Ruler. If we just need more firepower going into a board, and if we need a lot of back row hate against, like, more control-heavy decks, we can obviously take out the Nibirus for Cosmics, and we can take out the Imperms for Evenly matches, and just kind of leave it at that. We have the 3 Evenly, 3 Cosmic, the Duster, and I think that's a pretty hefty amount of spell trap removal. Extra deck, again, I think is just going to be set in stone for the remainder of the series. I think it's, like, pretty much solved. The only bit of deviation you could do with this extra deck is by dropping Strenna to 2 and playing a second Jasmine, which I personally prefer the 3 Strenna over the second Jasmine. Although, I won't lie, the second Jasmine can occasionally come up. Just for me personally, it does not come up all that often. I find it does come up the most, though, when you're trying to, like, play into boards, I guess. And that little extra, ability to link off into a second one if they imperm it or negate it with something, right, is kind of cool. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about. That's the deck list. That's our Tuesday performance. So yeah, that's a 2-1 finish. It sounds very weird, not adding up to 4 rounds, but it is what it is. we're going to be recording our first-person POV. We're going to get in the top-down angle in our normal feature matches. We'll try to get first place profile afterwards as well to get our videos set up for the week for you guys. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys at the tournament. All right, guys, we just arrived at locals. It's almost 6:15, so we're gonna go in, set up our rig for recording, set up our secondary rig for the top-down angle I'm gonna need for my matches, and set up the head strap camera again. Also today, there was a Dark Wing Blast sneak peek. Obviously, you won't be able to use the cards in today's tournament, but next week, I believe they should be legal for everybody to use, which is cool. There are some cards I need out of this set. Not specifically for Rikka, although there is like an interesting card or two. But there's also that World Sea Dragon Zealantis, which I really want to get my hands on because that card's insane and might have some practicality in Marincess.
Playing TJ custom combo today. Gonna get started in about 5 minutes, guys. Please be ready.
My favorite competitive tournament pack reprint, Swamp Battle Guard, and Lava Battle Guard, no less, and a slime token for my slime deck. Perfect. All right, we also got ourselves a Darkwing Blast sneak peek kit. So let's crack these open really fast. Impromptu pack opening.
But oddly enough,
ooh, okay, Ultra Rare Blackwing.
Even if this was
this card is crazy. Another Blackwing.
Which you can summon under that, and then you can
oh, Cucumber Horse. This is the card I was talking about. Bestial Saronir. Another Cucumber Horse. Perfect. We only need one more now.
And then you go into the Raid Raptor.
Okay, Prediction Princess. Another Blackwing. Chinook the Snowblast. Alright, unfortunate. No secrets. But we did get 2 Cucumber Horses, so we'll take that. All right, everybody, we just wrapped up round 3. We are currently 2-1 after a bit of an unfortunate loss in time to Heroes of all things in round 2. If I would have just drawn Nibiru, we would have won that match pretty easily, but that card wasn't loyal to me. And it is what it is. I needed like literally 15 more seconds, and I think I would have had enough time to like go for a board that could go for a game. He had that Neos monster in hand. I just didn't have time to read it. And lo and behold, it had a battle phase effect. But again, if I had more time, I could have set up a negate for it. And I think I definitely could have gone for a game through that board, at least gotten enough damage on field to the point where I'd be up in life when time is called. And then round 1, we played against Despia. Shout out to Zach. That was a good match. He was unfamiliar with what the Rikka cards do, which a lot of people are, to be fair, but we were able to take that match pretty easy. Despite opening 3 Glamour in my opening hand, game 1, we were able to come back from that. And then round 3, we just played against Runic, and that was a really insane match. Game 1 was just incredible. He was at 12,000 life points, and he added Mystic Mind to his hand off of a Metaverse. So I was either OTK then, or I lose the game because I had just used my only main deck out to mine. We'll go over that game. We're also going to go over the hero match as well to see if there's anything we could have done differently there to kind of go for the game. But yeah, we're feeling pretty good. Obviously, we'd like to be undefeated, but, you know, can't always be undefeated, right? Can never be undefeated in this game. So we're going to go into the next round, stay positive, see if we can get ourselves a 3-1 finish, and we'll probably grab a profile or 2 afterwards for some more content for you guys. But yeah, I mean, we just beat Runic. It was like probably the least favorable matchup I could have expected in this entire room, and we certainly got the full force of it. That Duster cleared away so many floodgates. It was unbelievable. I won't spoil anymore because that game was just something else. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys a little bit later after the tournament. All right, guys, so it is time to go over that hero matchup I was just talking about, and I've been kind of reviewing this one for the past couple minutes, and there are some interesting things that I actually ended up missing here, especially in game 1. So let's go ahead and hop into this, and I'll be, trying to provide the best insight I can. So we're going to roll the dice, and I do win the die roll, which is great. But, you know, being a hero player, they don't really necessarily mind going second. So my opening hand was pretty awkward. It was like double Princess, Sewing, DD Crow, like kind of awkward, but we're still able to do level 4 plus Sewing into Dryas to bring out Loki. We take 1,000, we gain it back. Now, I do bring out the healer here because I know I'm not going to go for the full Jasmine line because I'm trying to play around hand traps to the best of my ability. I don't know what my opponent's on. I want to keep a Rikka on field to be able to stop hand traps with at all cost. And I know what you're thinking, you know, here I could have gone into Dryas into healer, but I only play one healer, so that line wasn't a thing. And again, I want to keep the princess on field to have a way to negate with the princess engrave. So I'm just going to tribute off the seed, bring out Petal, get access to Mudon, tribute the Petal, and then we're going to go ahead and use the Mudon to go ahead and grab a copy of Con. And this can help us get access to Sheet or Glamour, which is what I think I actually get off of this. And that's to get me into another level 4 because I need to be able to make Strenna. Otherwise, I really don't have like a ton of ways to apply pressure. Yeah, I have to get Glamour here. There's really no other way to end on a decent board here. So I just go ahead and grab the Glamour, and we go ahead and tribute that off. We go ahead and search 2. I grab the Primula and Carrot Weight. Probably should have grabbed Princess and Carrot Weight. Actually, yeah, probably should. I don't know. I think I had all 3 Princess out of the deck. There's one under the Strenna, there's one in my hand, there's one in the grave. So I think I had to grab the ones that I did there. So I mean, of course, I could have grabbed Snowdrop to make a different play, but I wanted to leave Snowdrop in the deck because, like, if I don't need to use it turn 1, I like having it in the deck for firepower. So at least here I have, you know, Strenna, which is going to tag and do a negate, and I have Princess, negate, and Jasmine's kind of protecting itself and the Strenna as well. I get Lightning Stormed, so we lose a little momentum there. And my opponent leads with Vion. Now, I'm very unfamiliar with the hero matchup, as you guys probably could tell for me playing this match out. And if you guys, again, want to see this match in its entirety, it's already uploaded on the channel on the Saturday Night Locals series. After we get Lightning Stormed, my opponent leads with Normal Summon Vion to dump a hero. This I probably should have negated, knowing it's going to get to Shadow Mist, which is going to get him another card. And then, you know, Vion gets a Poly. Again, even as I'm watching this over, I still don't know a whole lot about heroes. It's not a matchup I'm going to continue to respect because we need to be worried about Tier and Runic Sprite, etc. Don't really have time to cover all these other rogue matchups. It was a normal summon. The card generates a lot of value. I probably should have negated. I think that's what I should have done. Outside of that, I don't know. Because now he's getting Liquid off the Shadow Mist, and then he's banishing the Shadow Mist off the Vine to grab Poly. And the hand advantage for him is just, you know, growing incredibly. And he's going to go ahead and Poly with the Vion and the Liquid into Sunriser. Chainlink 1 Liquid. Chainlink 2 Sunriser. He's trying to search the Miracle Fusion. And I'm like, you know, Miracle Fusion's a pretty good card, so I'm going to negate that, I guess. And he still gets to draw 2, discard 1. And he ends up discarding Hero Lives. A new chain Strenna comes out with the Hyperion on top. So now we have a monster negate. Again, this deck is pretty monster heavy. Or at least so I thought. At least his hand isn't very monster heavy. He has Fusion Destiny, one of the best cards, if not the best card in the entire deck. Dumps Denier and Melee, gets out the good old DPE. Never, ever am not annoyed at seeing that card. After playing in post-Bode format, you know, it was such a nightmare, and here it is again. Luckily, there's no Anaconda still. But then he uses the Melee engrave. I'm trying to read the Denier here, and at this point, like, I'm reading so many cards, I'm kind of lost, admittedly. Not very prepared with this matchup, and, you know, Sunriser has another effect, too. All my monsters are losing attack because of the DPE, right? The effect that, you know, a lot of people tend to forget about, myself included. Luckily, Jasmine's protection is coming in clutch here. Sewing is coming in clutch. You know, he really can't get through our field just on sheer attack alone. So he has to use the DPE to stop the, to clear the Strenna. We DD Crow it, and he has Mass Change for Darklaw. And now we have to deal with Darklaw, set Mass Change, and Favorite Contact, and then Denier brings itself back by shuffling back DPE. So DPE is now back in his extra deck because of the Denier. Which, again, I was like, okay, that's a thing he can do. Learning things on the fly here. And now Darklaw is going to be a huge pain because we do need to do a lot of searching. And, you know, we do have a decent amount of things already set up in the grave, so it's not that bad in that sense. But, like, it's going to be kind of rough. And we're going to have to use our Princess Negate on it probably the first time he uses the effect. Like, we have to respect Dark Law a lot here. So end phase, Petal is going to come back. We draw into Twin. So my opening hand right now is Twin, Carrot Weight, and one other card. Twin, Carrot Weight, and the other card, I'm not sure exactly what it... Oh, it's Glamour. Twin, Carrot Weight, Glamour. Those are 3 cards in hand. And I'm on the right track with how I decide to play this out. I'm like, I need access to Con-Con. Like, that's the first thing that needs to happen. So Petal effect, go grab Mudan. I'm expecting him to use Dark Law here. He actually doesn't use the Dark Law, which was kind of shocking to me. And I just want to read over Dark Law again, making sure it's not a mandatory effect, which it is not. So he's just opting not to use it. It was, again, a little surprising. We go Mudan, Tribute Petal. That all goes through. Mudan effect to search. No response from him there. And, yeah, just cannot wait to see what those back row are and see how tough it's going to be to play through those. We had the Con-Con, and on resolution, he activates Dark Law. That I have to negate. I can't afford him ripping out the Con-Con. Now, here I activate Con-Con, and I activate the Glamour to tribute the Dark Law. So this is not a terrible play, but it leads to a bad play. Like, since I am tributing with Glamour, I have to search too. So I can't grab Snowdrop, and Snowdrop is really what I need right now to apply a lot of pressure. It brings itself out, brings out another body, can manipulate levels to get us into, you know, where our damage and pressure comes from, which is in the extra deck. Everything in the main deck is really small, obviously, and we need to get to the extra deck to apply pressure. So I kind of get carried away. I'm like, all right, now I can get rid of his Dark Law, and he can't really respond to it. It's going to get tributed as cost. I got a little bit ahead of myself. The Dark Law had already expended its effect to rip a card. So here I should have just activated Glamour, searched Snowdrop, scot-free, not have to worry about it. And granted, I think the other set wasn't a mass change, so I think he already used the mass change. So I think the one set's like Favorite Contact. I'm not sure what the other one is. So I don't think we had to worry about necessarily a second Dark Law. So here we just add Snowdrop, and then we go Snowdrop effect. We tribute over the Dark Law all the same. And I spent a few minutes trying to think about this, and I'm going to tell you the play we should have made versus the play we actually do make. So Snowdrop brings itself out in Carrot Weight. We link the Carrot Weight off into Dryas, and then we normal summon the Twin in our hand. What is normally a brick, in this case, is going to be a nice little sort of Altair or Wolf Bark. So we'll normal it while the Dryas is up, bring out Seed. And then from there, we can use Snowdrop to target the... first, we'd have to use Carrot Weight, sending off the Seed, and then Snowdrop target the Carrot Weight. Now we have level 4s. So we can go ahead and overlay both the Snowdrop and the Carrot Weight into Strenna. Strenna can add back a Princess. We can spec the Princess and then link off the Twin, the Dryas, and the Princess into Melius. Melius brings back the Seed, and then we go into Bengalancer. So we can establish Strenna, Bengalancer, and set a sheet off of the Con-Con. So we have 1, 2, 3, like 4-ish interruptions just off this play, and it's probably going to be enough to deal with the DPE that I think is going to return off of the Favorite Contact instead of the board I make. So, like, let's just take a look at this here. So we go ahead and search 2, and again, since we tributed, we have to search 2. So I'm forced to get Petal and Loci, and the play we're about to make is going to be extremely weak. I'm like, this Loci is not as great as it would seem because we've already expended a good chunk of our Sinavalon engine. We've already used Sowing, etc., etc. So I just go into the Dryas. Carrot Weight brings itself out, right? And at this point, it's just kind of like Dance Peon or Bust. And you can already just see how much potential has been missed at this point. It's really just Hail Mary at this point for me. And the other set actually ends up being a Droplet, which I guess is better than it being anything else, like if we've done our normal combo. And then he just flips up Favorite Contact in the end phase, and we really don't have any response whatsoever to that. We don't have a Rikka on field to act as a monster negate, and from there, no surprises, we end up scooping and we head into game 2. So I played that pretty poorly, honestly. I think I just tunnel visioned on like needing to tribute right away for the Dark Law when I could have just gotten the Snowdrop out of the deck and basically accomplished the same thing. You don't always have to tribute, their stuff with Glamour. You can use things like Mudan and Snowdrop too, which is, again, pretty obvious, but sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, it can be easy to forget those things. And we just have to hope we don't do that as much as we've done in the past. That way we can improve. So let's take a look at game 2. All right, so here in game 2, my opening hand is double Loci, Lone Fire, Glamour, and Mudan. So we do have access to full combo here, which is great. The only kind of downside about this, though, with this hand is, like, in order to beat a hand trap, we kind of really have to, like, go out of our way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, for us to get access to a Rikka on field and have Princess in hand and have Loci on field, I'm pretty sure we'd have to, like, normal summon the Lone Fire, tag it out for Mudan. Mudan could add the Princess, and then we Glamour for Snowdrop, and then Snowdrop tributes the Petal, brings out itself in Loci. So I could have done that. I'm curious to see if that's actually what I do. I mean, it's rough either way, because, like, if I start with the Lone Fire and he ashes it, I at least still have Glamour Mudan. And so I guess, like, this line is not so bad too. Even if he ashes the Sowing, which is very vulnerable, it's not so bad. But, like, that would have been the safer way to lead, how I just said. But I'm just off to the races here. I'm like, you know, if my opponent has it, he has it. I still at least have Glamour Mudan to back things up. And once we get to this point in the combo, I'm kind of confident my opponent really doesn't have any hand traps once you get to this point, and you're resolving Healer and Jasmine, both of her effects. So we search out Princess, we get access to Petal. Petal is going to go ahead and search us out a Snowdrop. And you're just going to see the standard combo here. Snowdrop's going to bring out itself in Mudan, and Mudan is going to go ahead and search Con. This is basically the line that I go for every single time I get to go first. I should have respected Evenly Match a bit more here, and I'm going to be, yeah, I actually don't end up respecting it. I should have, totally, if I'm being honest, because here I'm just doing the line that plays into the Evenly, because we don't have anything like Judgment, but we are setting up, like, for a lot of board breakers, I guess, things like Lightning Storm, which we know are in his deck. And a deck like, you know, Heroes probably going to be playing that. Maybe a deck like Heroes doesn't really want to play Evenly Matched, because they do pride themselves in the battle phase, because they can do a ton of damage. So maybe that's what I was thinking. Hard to tell. But we do end again on the full board. Bengal Lancer, Hyperion with a monster or spell negate, Princess with Strenna and Sheet. And, you know, we're kind of vibing right now for whatever comes our way. Feeling really strong. And my opponent does have Lightning Storm, Mass Change, Droplet, and a couple other monsters. So he goes Lightning Storm. I'm trying to weigh my options here. I'm like, all right, I could let this resolve, lose the Hyperion, protect the Bengal Lancer, but I don't want to just, like, you know, lose my Hyperion completely. So I, you know, try to negate it. He changed Droplet, right? That gets another interruption out of his hand. So he just sends off just the Droplets, or the Lightning Storm, just to negate the Hyperion. And I still end up protecting the Bengal Lancer. Now my opponent normals Vion. I negate with Princess. Negate the Shadow Mist effect with Princess by attributing to Strenna. And then I bring out Teardrop. Teardrop's going to be hopefully decent here. I mean, we still have Bengal Lancer bounce. We still have a tribute from Sheet. And we still have a take from Sheet as well. And we have the tribute from Teardrop. So we have a decent amount of interruptions. Opponent's going to poly with Mally and Spirit of Neos into DPE. And I'm like, you know what? This is just kind of free at this point. He's played right into the Sheet. And we just tribute the DPE as cost, take Vion. And he doesn't really have any response to that. And lo and behold, he scoops right away. Just showing you how powerful Sheet is into the DPE. Like, I think, had a near unbreakable board for the hand that he had. I mean, Lightning Storm Droplet obviously just wasn't enough. He did end up obviously calling monsters. Maybe would have been a little bit safer of him to call back row, because he does clear Sheet and Con. So, like, that would have been good too. Like really good, honestly, I think, if he would have called back row. But I don't think he fully realized that Sheet and Con and the whole gimmick was things being tributed for cost. So I think that is, you know, reason for the misplay that he made. Although I was reading him all my cards and what they did. He just, I think, probably just forgot, or, you know, wasn't fully aware of what was going on, I guess. So that's game 2. Let's take a look at game 3. So game 3, my opening hand is Princess DD Crow, Primula, Mudan, and that one of Sowing. We are seeing it quite a bit. And my opponent is going to lead with Stratos and proceed to do hero things. I wish I could provide more useful commentary here, but I really can't. And you'll notice my opponent take a few plays back that I know some people in the comments are going to freak out about that. You know, why would you let your opponent take these plays back? You know, they made the play, let them commit to it. That I totally understand. If this wasn't locals, if this was a regional, an OTS, a YCS, I definitely would not let it fly. I'd be like, no, you chose the card. you know, a lot of people put time and effort to get to these events, and I'm not going to let you just, you know, take back such lines. But again, it's local, so again, any other situation wouldn't have allowed it, but this time around it's local, so I don't really care. Our only interruption is DD Crow, and I need to save it for DPE because DPE is one hell of a card, or at least I thought. He does have a card called like Destiny Hero Dark Angel as he hard polys for the DPE, and this Dark Angel card is a card I don't think I've ever seen before. But it basically allows him to turn off spells, and it gives control of itself to me, which I was also not expecting, basically. Says, special summon it to your opponent's field defense position when a spell card or effect resolves. Negate that effect if you do, or if it did not have an effect, destroy that card. So yeah, it's just basically a free way to negate a bunch of spells. If you have 3 or more Destiny Hero monsters in your graveyard, discard this card, target a Destiny Hero monster in the graveyard, special summon to your opponent's field. So we can just discard and then special summon it back itself. And my opponent did have Call by the Grave for my DD Crow, attempting to get rid of the Dark Angel. So that was unfortunate. So now I have to kind of try to play around this without using any spells. Now, fortunately for me, my opponent lets me get far enough into the combo where I'm able to establish Jasmine, and that lets me tribute the Dark Angel off my field. And I want to pause here because I didn't know this until somebody brought it up, like from week 1 or week 2, I think, when we played Exosister, where they reminded me that Jasmine can tribute any monster she points to. It doesn't have to be a plant, so you can tribute off into Nibiru, and in this case, I'm tributing off the Dark Angel, so now we're basically free to use whichever spells we want. So I thought that was a really cool interaction. Definitely wanted to pause for that. We're going to go ahead and bring out Petal. We're getting a Search, and we're getting a Monster Negate online, and we do have Mudon here, and Mudon is going to go ahead and tribute off Petal. And again, time is kind of ticking down. This was a bit of a longer match, kind of a little PSA right here. Mudon's going to grab his Con, which is exactly what we need. We need to clear DPE off the field as soon as possible. And my opponent attempts to DPE right here, but we're just going to Princess Negate, tribute it for cost. And I got to tell you, doing that felt so good. Like, the amount of months I had to deal with DPE Graveyard Effect trigger on Destruction was insufferable. Now that I can just tribute it off the field, no questions asked, right? Just don't care, get it out of here. You're not triggering the Graveyard Effect. Felt amazing. So good. Hope you guys can experience that as well at some point. So we tribute it off by negating with Princess, and then we grab Sheet off of the Con, so we have that in the back line. And here I just have Sowing, Princess, or Snowdrop and Primula. So we go Snowdrop, bring out itself, and Primula. Make them both level 4. Add back Mudon. And then we go Sowing to bring out a Body. And we take 1,000 damage. And I think I do this just to get access into Melius, and Melius bring out the Seed. And I think my opponent had an interruption there. Yeah, he goes Mask Change, Chain Droplet. So he makes a Mask Hero Blast by sending off Stratos. And he's dropleted the Melius. So we don't get access to the Seed for Bengalancer, which I thought that was a very interesting place to get interrupted. I'm trying to think if there's a way maybe I could have gotten a Dryas on field to resolve the effect when I take damage when I use the Sowing. I think I could have. Yeah, I definitely could have, because I could have just linked the Primula into Dryas and then use Sowing. Bring out a Twin? If I already had a Loci Engrave, and then I get extra bodies on field, and then I can just Snowdrop, target something. At that point, I don't think I have access to a level 4, though. I think that's the issue, which I needed to get access to Strenna. But maybe then again, I could have just gone for a Teardrop play, or maybe I could have gone for a an Alisay play, but I think that plays more into the Droplet, though. That's why I like Strenna, because they can just negate Strenna all day long. Doesn't matter, so long as you have a way to just tribute it on your turn, which we do, because we have the Sheet. Well, we thought we had the Sheet, but Blast can just quick effect return spells and traps, and now I'm definitely feeling a little bit less safe. You know, the Denier's coming back, and then Mally's coming out, and he's going to add Link 2 into Cross Crusader, and again, my opponent changes targets here. He was going to bring back Denier, but then he's like, no, wait, I'm going to bring back the DPE. Again, if it was a regional, I would have said something, but here we are. And he brings back all these monsters, and, you know, he uses increase, which I don't think actually should have triggered there. He tries to attack Melius. I inform him that he can't attack it, but he can still attack directly, so long as I don't have any other monsters. My Shredder was zeroed out by the DPE, and we take a bunch of damage here. And then he's going to go ahead and bring out the increase, which he shouldn't have gotten to, which I can't remember the exact reason. Some way increase couldn't have triggered off of the blast. And then he basically gets access to the Spirit of Neos. And then end phase, he's going to go ahead and pop the Melius, which I thought was strange. Doesn't pop the Petal. And then, you know, it brings back DP in the standby phase. We get access to Princess very quickly here, and we activate Con. So this is going to play out really, really fast. Had I, again, been more familiar with increase and how it works, probably could have caught that, because him getting access to the Spirit of Neos in hand changes, like, I don't want to say it changes a lot, but it definitely could have. And I have to play, like, lightning fast here, keep in mind, because I think there's literally, like, less than 2 minutes on the clock right now. I'm at, like, 700 life points to his 7,000, so there is a big gap to make up. And we have to play through a DPE too. So we're going to go ahead and use Mudan, tribute off the DPE, and he chains Blast to bounce back the Con. And I'm pausing here again because Con's effect to use your opponent's monsters as tribute is a soft once per turn. So in this case, if we play the Con again, or we activate a different Con on top of it, we can now do what we just did with that Mudan a second time. So my opponent is literally just making my job easier for me. But now that he has sort of a battle trap in his hand that he should not have gotten to, again, my fault, things are going to get a little dicey. So we go and add Glamour. We tribute off the Petal. Go ahead and grab Carrot Weight and Princess. I should have triggered Primula there, which there was no Primula in my hand, so scratch that. I did top deck Bell, which felt great when DPE was returning. So we go for Strenna, we add back Snowdrop, we play the Con again, and we tribute over the Blast. And here we make everything level 8 with the Snowdrop. Things, again, are going lightning fast right now. Lightning fast. We go for Teardrop, pausing again here very rapidly because, again, things are going to go quick. And if I go Teardrop, tributing... I actually don't think I can do this. I was going to say, if I Teardrop tribute Strenna now, I think it might be too early. Also, have to keep in mind that I messed up. I should have probably detached the Princess from the Strenna instead of the Carrot Weight. I think I was maybe focused on having a little bit more damage. And the reason why I bring that up is that way I would have a way to negate the Spirit of Neos in his hand. So that also kind of made a difference here. So I could have just Carrot Weight, send off the Mudan. I don't think I had another plant in hand. I think I just had Sheet and Bell. So if I do go Carrot Weight, send off the Mudan, attack into his 2 monsters, right? You know, Mudan over one, Strenna over the other, and then, you know, Teardrop. Well, then once the board is cleared, right, assuming that he doesn't have the Spirit of Neos in his hand, which again, he should not have gotten to for ruling reasons, I go Teardrop, tribute the Strenna, bring out Hyperiton, swing for 26 and 3k. That puts him down to 56, so he would be at 16, which is still not enough for a game. So I'm really not sure what I could have done there to make a difference. Like, it was just a really unfortunate circumstance there in Game 3. I think I played the best that I possibly could have. I think maybe if I had another plant in hand to send off for the Carrot Weight, and if I would have been able to keep Carrot Weight and Mudan on field, I think we would have had a way to get over everything. But it's unfortunate, and it's, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. And time sucks for this reason, for having no time to think about anything at all or read any cards, because then you're just gonna lose, right? It's just a lose-lose situation, but it is what it is. right, everybody, here we are in round 3. Let's take a look at this one. We are playing against the Runic Mystic Mind deck, and I figured I'd go over this one specifically because I know a lot of you guys have always asked, you know, how is the Runic matchup playing the Rikka deck, and it does tend to be a very difficult matchup because Rikka and Sun Avalon have very few in-engine ways to interact with things in the backline. Alcé being really the only card that is capable of doing that. I was siding Titanial, which is a level 8 plant that can basically just tribute a plant to negate any card or effect that targets, which is a lot of the Runic cards, the good Runic ones. And there was a way to set that up post-side to have several negates to turn off a lot of their spells, but I have since decided to cut it for just more regular spell and trap removal. But obviously here in this match, I was playing completely blind. I opened kind of weird. I think I opened up like just double seed as like my only real way to play. So I was just kind of going for as much as a full combo as I could have. You know, we go for Dryas, go for Healer, gain life points, and search. And we're going to go ahead and grab a Princess, tribute off the Healer, summon out Petal, grab Mudon. And I think I already have Con and Sheet in hand. So we're just going to go ahead and activate Mudon, bring itself out. And then we're going to go ahead and add Sheet off of it, since I don't need to add Con here. We're going to activate it, and then we're going to go ahead and set the Glamour, which is great to help us kind of give us, you know, more gas. So here I just decide to search a copy of Snowdrop, and then we're going to go Snowdrop effect here, and tribute off the Petal to bring itself out and the Princess. And then we're going to target the Princess with the Snowdrop, make everything level 4. Overlay, add back the Glamour, and then we link for Melius and Bengalancer. Now, this isn't like the full end board. I probably could have gone for it, and I'm going to pause here for just a second. But the opening hand was a little weird, and I had to play it out a little weird. Although I think this end board is perfectly fine. It's definitely a little bit more conservative all around because we didn't invest like a Hyperion already. Although in hindsight, ending on a Hyperion with a spell underneath it would have been pretty clutch in this matchup. But we do have Sheet, we have Imperm. I think I have a Bell in hand, Bengalancer, Shrender. So I was okay going for a little less of a board because I had all those other, you know, non-engine interruptions in the form of Bell and Imperm. So I was kind of ready for whatever he would have. I honestly wasn't expecting, again, it to be this matchup, especially I think when he led with a normal summon Inspector Border. Definitely wasn't expecting that. So he reads the Strenna and commits the Inspector Border here. And then activates Runic Fountain as his next play. And I was like, all right, here we go. We're playing against the Runic deck. How bad is this going to be? Sets 3. And then activates Carta Demise, which I also wasn't expecting, you know, seeing that one of. I think he drew in a summon limit, Metaverse, and looks like a Freezing Curse, and that's going to attempt to negate the Bengalancer, and then I think banish the top 3. I was thinking for a while, you know, do I want to chain to this to get rid of the border, but there really is no reason to. So I just leave it on field. End phase Petal comes back, and then draw phase, he hits me with the TC Boo. And I had to get rid of 2 things. I decided to keep the Strenna on field. Not really sure why I opted to keep the Strenna. I guess so I could use the Con to deck then. Get Glamour. Glamour tributes off the border. Add the Primule and the Carrot Weight. And now we just kind of play the deck thin beatdown game. Strenna tries to swing in directly, but he uses a Freezing Curse to go ahead and bring out Moonin. And then he tries to use Fountain. We Bell. End phase. He gains 1,000. I pass. He passes, tribute summons for Vanity's Fiend. He passes again. I Imperm the Vanity's Fiend, turning it off, or the Majesty's Fiend, rather, turning it off, and the TC Boo since Imperm column shenanigans. We Glamour, add Mudon, and then we go ahead and Mudon, tribute over the Vanity's Fiend, and wasn't thinking about Demise of the Land, obviously, when I should have been, you know, knowing what deck he was on. So we get hit with Demise of the Land on the Mudon summon, and yeah, now we're kind of back to square one. The TC Boo is turned off, but there is now a Mystic Mine on the field. And I just kind of wanted to leave my board as is. I didn't want to commit anymore. End phase, pass, you know, send off the Mudon because the TC Boo, we're just passing back and forth now. Passing back and forth, drawing into hand traps, unexpected die. And at this point, I remember, oh yeah, I should be using Con to deck thin here. Setting another Glamour from the deck, discarding die. He activates the Flashing Fire to pop the Strenna. Banish 2, it's a Princess and a Nibiru, all the while deck thinning us to get to our 1-of out that we have to draw. And then he goes ahead and uses a Runic spell to bring out Munin, and I know there's a huge glare over it, so I apologize for that. Perfect angle. And he tries to use the effect, well, I'm like, are you going to use the effect to gain? But mine was up. And then I'm like, okay, so Petal effect, since, you control more monsters than I do. So Petal comes back. And he didn't have any response to that. So I know there's a ruling question here somewhere where, like, since he activated mine and he passed priority and he couldn't use his Moonin in the end phase because he was under mine. And once I bring my Petal back, does he have a chance to use Moonin after that to gain 1,000 still? If he could have, I think that definitely would have won him the game because for reasons you'll see in a moment where I was able to put 12k damage on board exactly, but not 13k any more than that. I don't think I had a way to game unless I took a little longer to think about it, I guess. I don't know. Haven't done the math on that yet. But the Petal coming back turns off Mystic Mine. It's just a clutch interaction that you guys should know regardless. And I just go Petal, grab Princess. Again, just deck thinning here. Discarding Nibiru and Carrot Weight, and my opponent draws, activates another, I think it's a golden droplet to make me draw and banish 4. I ash that because I am very low on cards and don't want to lose a bunch. And then end phase, gain 1,000. Pass it to me, I draw Imperm, gain 1,000. And then he passes it back to me, right, after gaining another 1,000. At this point, I'm like, okay, I can out the TC Boo again here and try to play. I use the Imperm in the same column as the TC Boo, obviously, so I can, shut it off and negate his Munin. But Munin had another effect for, like, targeting on Runic cards and for set cards, which I also didn't realize. I thought it was just gain 1,000 life points during every end phase. I don't know if there's a way where I could have, like, Impermed with the other Imperm that's in the bottom-most zone on my side of the field. But then he would have chained. Maybe he would have chained. Either way, if he doesn't chain, because if he doesn't chain to that Imperm, then I can not Imperm it again because it's already negated. So this was rough. Like, I tried to get out of the TC Boo here, but he used the Moonin effect. I'm like, disadvantage for cost because that would actually make a big difference in how this plays out because I had another Imperm set. And I was like, oh yeah, well, banish for cost, then I'll just negate with Princess, right? But then the Moonin's not on field to be negated by the Imperm, so Imperm's not negating the TC Boo. New chain, Primula, I believe, can summon out here under TC Boo since it's happening on a new chain. Then I'm going to pass. He draws, passes. I draw Harpy's Feather Duster, which was like the saving grace here. I had like 7 cards left in deck, so probably going to draw it sooner than later. He really didn't have a lot of Runic cards. Like, all of his back row was just Floodgates, and he needed Runic cards to be able to deck me out, and he just did not have a way to get to them. And he didn't have a way to play them either because he had like a full 5 back row. And once the Duster resolves, like, it's kind of like the pressure's on because he did chain Metaverse there. And that was my last out to Mystic Mine in the deck. I didn't have a way to get rid of it via Glamour. I had no way to search 2 monsters. So we needed this OTK to go through here. He has 12,000 life points. That's a lot of damage for this deck to do. Any more than that, I think any more than 13, and we probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So we normal Petal, search Princess, summon out the Princess, overlay for a Strenna. We're going to detach to go for Princess. Princess is going to bring it out itself and Lone Fire by attributing over the Petal. And then we go ahead and Princess target its, or Snowdrop target itself to make Strenna, or a Teardrop. Bengal Lancer brings itself back. Carrot Weight send off a Loci from hand. And then Battle Phase, swing in with the Carrot Weight, swing in with the Bengal Lancer, swing in with the Strenna Battle Phase, Teardrop effect, attributing the Strenna effect, bring out Hyperion. Teardrop, gain 200. That's 5,600 damage. Exactly what we need for a game. And after a nail biter of a game, yeah, like, can't believe we actually ended up being able to go for a game there. What a game. Let's take a look at game 2. So here in game 2, my opponent leads with the Runic Dispelling to go ahead and bring out the Huggins. Huggins discards a Freezing Curse to go ahead and search out the field spell. And then he activates the field spell, sets one, and pass. At this point, I'm like, okay, we're in a good spot. He opened really poorly here in game 2, did not see a ton of floodgates, and we just drew Judgment for turn, which, by the way, Judgment is not only a great going first side deck card against a lot of combo, it's also a card you should put in your deck going second against slower control-based decks like this, because it might out a Mystic Mine like we should have done on Tuesday, later onto these slow games, or it can just stop blowouts like TC Boo once they draw them. And it's just something you can kind of just hold in the back line until you need to shut something down. We normal summon the Loci, and we attempt to use its effect. It gets negated. And then we use Cosmic here on a new chain to get rid of the field spell once he tries to use that to draw. We go Glamour, tribute off the Dryas to search out Princess and Primula. And Primula will hit the board. And Princess hits the field. No TC Boo there. Go for Strenna. Strenna detached to add back the Glamour. And we're just playing the control game, the beatdown game here. Run over the Huggin to set the Judgment. We have a Monster Negate. We have a Judgment to stop any blowout cards he might have. He sets 2. He passes. And we have Glamour. So we go ahead and activate Glamour. We grab Petal. And then we normal summon the Petal here. Petal effect to go ahead and search out Mudon. And then he activates a copy of Dispelling to try to rip a card out of the hand. He hits a Loci, and then we banish 2, hits an impermanent Judgment. I think he was trying to hit the Mudon out of my hand to keep me off Con access. We just go Mudon effect, tribute over the Strenna, Chainlink 1 Strenna, Chainlink 2 Mudon, bring out a Hyperiton, activate Con, attach a spell underneath it, set Sheet, and getting the spell negate here is huge, obviously, against a deck like Runic. We link into the Petal, link the Petal into the Dryas, rather, to just get a 0 attack body on the field off the board. He draws for turn. We have a spell negate. We have Judgment. We have Sheet. We have, Petal coming back in the end phase. Feeling confident here. Like, we're really taking a foothold here in this game, as he's not seen a good amount of engine. He's going to activate Flashing Fire. And we do negate that to keep the Hyperiton on field. That way we can, get a spell underneath it hopefully next turn. He's going to activate Runic Tip. Obviously, they'll banish a card off the top of my deck once he goes ahead and searches. And he took a good while to search here. I think the Fountain being banished really kind of screwed him up, because I believe one of the other Runic fusions can add back things from the grave, so he couldn't get back his field spell now that it's banished. Passes it over to me. Petal comes back. We grab Snowdrop. We normal summon Twin. Twin's going to go ahead and bring back the Loci since we have Dryas on field. Link for Dancepeon. No on-field effect, but we're just going to use the other effect to target the Primula and Grave, make them both level 4. Overlay for Strenna. And then we're going to go Battle Phase. Attack with the Hyperiton. And then he's going to activate Flashing Fire to Fusion Summon. I could have Judgmented this, but I was really scared of that last back row. So he goes and brings out the level 4. And I'm like, you know what? I can just sheet it, take it, and attack for game. And the last set ended up being Rivalry of the Warlords. He did make a miss side, a siding error, which it happens to the best of us. We're all plant monsters, so it really didn't make too big of a difference there. And we had game regardless. So that was a really cool match. Not all of these matches in this matchup are going to go this way, I guarantee it. We just played the grind game 1 as long as we could. We tried to deck them for as long as we could. Game 2, we just saw our side deck cards, which is going to be a big determining factor in matchups like these. Evenlies, Cosmics, Judgments. What else more could you ask for? Now you could side Naturia Bamboo Shoot and the Rose Whip. I might go back to that. It's just like, it's such a bricky package to put into the deck. I don't know. It's insane when you pull it off. Believe me, it's insane. But as you can see, you don't really need it. But then again, maybe we should play it. I don't know. That's our round 3. Let's head back to locals. All right, everybody, we are officially done with locals for the night. We got 2 profiles. One for my buddy Joel, who went 4-0 the other week, and I wasn't able to get the profile last week, so we just filmed it today. And the other profile is for my friend Kaz, and if it's not me getting the first place Rikka profile, it's going to be him, so you love to see that. Those videos should already be up on the channel if you guys want to see them. And we were able to win our last match, like, very commandingly. Like, it was such an easy win. I mean, I think my opponent was definitely, like, newer to the game, because he didn't fully understand how some things worked. But, you know, that's just how it is. I'm sure he'll learn and improve as time goes on, if he decides to do that. But yeah, it was against Branded Despia, too. That's 2 Branded Despias today. I don't know where they're all coming from and why people are playing it. I mean, I guess I know the reason why. It's because people are on the Branded Expulsion with Scythe. And we actually almost got Scythe round 1, now that I remember. And we were able to negate the Scythe with a Princess. And even if the Scythe resolved, I feel like we were in a good spot, because, like, Rikka can surprisingly play pretty well under Scythe, because you can still set up Princess and Sheet under Con, which is just, like, enough most of the time. But now, everybody's favorite part of the episode, cracking our OTS pack. And let's see what we get. We got Excalibur. I remember playing him in Stellar Knights. Ooh, Lone Fire Blossom. And another Slime token. Second Slime token today. My absolute favorite. Alright, let's just get out of here. It's actually pretty cold out right now. Oh yeah, and also really quickly before I leave, our tournament standing, we actually finished 7th place for going 3-1, so I figured I'd get that information out there since I feel like I don't share it that much. But yeah, 7th place, not so bad. All right, everybody, welcome to the following Friday. Getting ready to start week 4 tomorrow. Actually going to be starting the filming because it is almost 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, if I'm being totally honest, finishing up this episode. And there's been some weird things that have happened this past week that have kind of prevented me from doing some testing that I've been wanting to do. And that one thing is Dueling Book has actually been down like the past couple days. It was really laggy at first, and then it was just outright down for a few days, so was not able to get on. I've entered in an online tournament that one of my local friends has hosted, and I couldn't even get on to play round 1 for like 2.5 days. And I might be playing my opponent IRL tomorrow at locals, and you guys will hear about that when we get there in episode 4. But yeah, to wrap up this episode, I think our locals performance this week was like really solid overall. Granted, we didn't play against anything too super meta relevant, which is a little frustrating, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's locals, so what really can you expect? The 2 Despia matchups were just whatever, and then we kind of got blindsided by the hero matchup, and we played Runic. So we really didn't play anything that's like super crazy meta that like we've kind of been building our deck to beat those decks. We've had to play like other things, but it's good that our deck can still at least beat those decks, despite our hand trap lineups, our side deck cards not being the most optimal to combat them. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about before I wrap this episode is Darkwing Blast. How does it relate to our deck? And how is this really going to be changing the meta? I'm sure you guys have been hearing about this for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe even longer. Tier is getting Sprite Sprined. If I'm being totally honest, I don't know why it was called a Sprite Monster. It would have been more fitting if it was called Tearlament Sprined. They're also getting Tearlament Heartbeat and Tearlament Scream. Some fantastic support. Not to mention they're getting Rule Kalos as well, which is a new level 8 Water Fusion that basically is a negate for any effect that I believe would special summon a monster. So it can negate things like Nibiru, Princess, Strenna, etc., etc. So the tier deck getting a lot better. And then we have Magnificent Mavens coming out in early November, which they're getting the Ishizu cards, which are a series of cards that will allow the deck to mill a lot more on their turn, and also on your turn, which has me thinking about cards like Neko Main King and Earth Shattering Event as possible side deck cards, or even main deck choices, depending on how insanely popular this deck is going to be. Will it be a tier 0 deck? I still personally don't believe it'll be a tier 0 format. I still believe there are going to be plenty of other really good contenders like Runic Sprite. Maybe be a 2-deck format. In my opinion, a tier 0 format is when there is one undisputed best deck, and if you're not playing it, you're not winning. And like I said, I'm not convinced that is going to be the case just yet, and if it is, then oh well. I'll still be able to find solace in the fact that I contribute my opponent's monsters as cost, and there's really nothing they can do about it. And I know another question I've been getting is, Winter, will you continue to play this deck post Magnificent Mavens? And the answer is most likely yes. I'm either going to be continuing to play Rikka, or I'm going to go back to playing Marincess since we just got World Sea Dragon Zealantis, and that card goes crazy. Now, as far as Rikka and Avalon is concerned, what kind of support did this deck get in Darkwing Blast? It really didn't get much. I know the Nateria, Camellia, and Mole Cricket came out. I don't really see those cards being that good in Rikka. I think, again, like the Bamboo Shoot play and the Rose Whip are probably just going to be better options. I feel like Mole Cricket and Camellia maybe work better in like a Vernisylph deck or like a pure Naturia deck, whatever that may look like. I just don't really see them finding a spot in Rikka. I really don't see what role they serve. Camellia being a searchable level 4 tuner is nice, so maybe if we get a nice level 8 plant synchro, that would be great. I know we're getting a card called Circle of Fairy in Photon Hypernova, but I don't think that's a level 8. I think it's like a level 5 or 6 synchro, and maybe we can tinker with that once Photon Hypernova comes out. But yeah, outside of the Naturia cards, we also got Cucumber Horse, which you guys saw me kind of show off in this episode when we opened up our little sneak peek kit. That card I thought was kind of cool for a little bit. The main issue with it being, though, that anytime you want to like use its battle phase effect to like steal something really big out of the opponent's graveyard, most of the time you're not going to be able to do that because you're plant locked. At best, it's just kind of like a battle phase trap that your opponent's going to have to worry about on their turn more so than yours. And it just seems like kind of one of those cards that's going to make bad hands worse, and is probably just better left not played for the time being. It is cool that it's a level 8, so you can search out with Snowdrop off of Glamour, but I think it's probably just going to stay out of the deck for now, although it's a really cool card based on its effect and its design alone. And like I said, I think our build is probably going to stay relatively the same going into this next week and into Darkwing Blast format. Yes, I haven't had much practice this week in this format, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning experience right off the bat. We're just going to have to kind of learn on the fly how to beat these new Tearlament cards, and also kind of have to deal with some of the other new like cards that have been released in Darkwing Blast, like Kashtira Fenrir. We might have that dropped on us, and that's a pretty insane card. I know there's like a new Daruma Trap, although I don't think it's that great. It's still pretty good if I'm being totally honest. And from there, we'll just have to see what else is waiting for us in week 4. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week. And like always, a big thank you goes to our Divine Level channel members who are Pony Stark, Cadillacs84, Justino, and HCH Cyber. Thank you guys so much as always for your very kind and extremely generous support of this channel.